Does it count if it wasn't exactly browsing, but very much dark web related? I write about the dark web. That's my job. So I've spent part of pretty much every day for the past 4 or 5 years digging around in there. I've sat through fake red rooms, had fake hitmen try to bribe and then frighten me into taking down my stories about them, had accounts on every major online black market that ever existed. I do a little crawl every few days to see what new sites have popped up, and visit most of them. The most frightening experience I've ever had is coming face to face with Lux, the owner of the pedo empire and hurt to the core, the most evil and revile person on the entire dark web. He was responsible for procreating and hosting Daisy's destruction, the most repulsive video ever made, created by Peter Scully, whose crimes were so bad the Philippines are considering reinstating the death penalty because of him. It wasn't frightening because Lux was frightening. He was anything but. It was frightening because he looked so innocent and normal. It was frightening because he was living proof that monsters walk among us and we never know who they are. I've got a good one for this. I still haven't figured out 100% how this person found out my info, but here it goes. I was buying some clothing off of Silk Road for a while. One day, I received an inbox on my personal Twitter account. The person talked about how I was an amateur and obviously didn't protect my identity enough, and that they would report me to the police with information about the clothing I was buying. When I initially called their bluff, they went to say, "Oh really? What would," insert my mom and dad's name, "say about this? Or your teachers from," insert my school's name, "say," demanding money in return for not giving me up. I was basically getting blackmailed, and I was very nervous because this person had all of my info, and I thought my Tor browser had been compromised. Later, I came to the realization that me following is the Silk Road Up and Running Twitter account on my personal Twitter. The person assumed what I was using it for and used my real Twitter name to find out info on me and blackmail me. That was a dumb move on my part. It ended up just blowing over after I ignored and blocked the account, but it was pretty scary. Honestly, most of the highly disturbing content on the internet can be found right on the surface. If you consider highly disturbing to be murder, rape, etc., the deep web is mostly a fairly benign place for the sale of drugs, fraud paraphernalia, etc., by people who aren't really sadistic in their intentions. There is some child porn, unfortunately, but it's pretty actively pushed to the fringes and shunned by most. There are a few almost certainly fake hitmen. I believe I saw what looked like a pretty legit swatting service at one time. I was also around for those Wonder Super counterfeit notes, which, while not spooky, were definitely pretty remarkable in terms of the enormous illegal operation I was witnessing. Most of the horror stories you hear are just that, stories. The creepy aspect of it all is perhaps the big picture itself. It's harder to buy weed than it is to watch a video of 2 teenagers beating a hobo to death with a hammer. I had a glimpse once. Was on a site that just streamed the latest GIFs without filter. I'm sure they would like me to link it, but I'm not. Most of it was just J-pop boy bands, but one was a CCTV of what I can only assume was a suicide bomber. Since the site had no context, I knew zero information. You saw a raised pedestrian bridge, 2 guys sitting and talking. Other people were just walking where they needed to go. All of a sudden, one of the guys sitting just blows up. Black gore everywhere. The guy sitting next to him falls over in slow motion, frozen in the sitting position he was in. I have no doubt that he was stone dead. After he falls, a torso splat is closer to the camera. Everyone else just runs. I never went back to that site. In comm science, we often got bored and dicked around. One day, we ran into the deep web. The most disturbing site we found was a comprehensive guide for cooking women. We're not talking about a short joke here. This page had information on what body types to use for specific cuts, how to prepare these cuts, how to cook the girl so she lives as long as possible. It horrifies me that people way worse than the freaks on Criminal Minds exist. I lived in a fraternity house my junior year with about 16 other guys and about 45 in the chapter overall. We had actually been arguing about drugs in the house, about half of us saying it was asking for trouble, and the other half using the chapter house as a haven from campus security. I was on the side of the former. Early on in the school year, a couple guys asked me and some other internet-savvy people about the deep web. I explained basically what it did above, and didn't really hear anything else about it for a while. After a few months, some of the guys started talking about buying things off Silk Road. I assumed they were just lazy and trying to get cheaper weed. Turns out, I was incorrect. They had ordered about $5,000 worth of MDMA and acid. This came to light on a sunny afternoon in early April when armed members of HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, a subdivision of ICE, raided our home. I was upstairs overlooking the parking lot, and a bunch of guys were outside getting ready to go golfing. I watched a car pull up slowly, followed by another one bolting around the corner. The guys on the ground tell me that the driver of the second car got a little bit too excited, and apparently he jumped out of the car with his taser drawn, screaming, "Get on the fucking ground, or prepare to feel the thunder." Not wanting to feel the thunder, everybody complied. The more level-headed agents went inside and rounded us all up to sit in the parking lot so they could search the house. I still have no idea of what is going on at that point. After a little while, they explained who they were and why they were there. The aftermath was 2 guys got arrested on felony drug trafficking. One got arrested with minor charges of possession. They arrested but didn't charge a 4th guy. He was the one whose house the drugs were sent to. We didn't technically get mail sent to the chapter house, and they were trying to hide it. The guy had no idea what was in the packages. Poor soul. Another 2 guys got suspended for a year for suspected involvement. In the end, the 2 guys got house arrest for the better part of a year and probation for a few years. The other guys all transferred except the one who didn't get charges. He was released and graduated on time. As for the rest of us, we got our chapter revoked and everyone just kind of left it alone. The younger people around campus are mostly scared of us now because the rumor mill made it sound like we were a violent drug ring. More accurately, we are a group of idiots with a couple much bigger idiots in our ranks. Somebody told me about Tor and Silk Road, so I went exploring. I didn't want drugs. I just wanted to see what the fuss was about. Discovered a matchmaking website. Matchmaking in quotes, by the way. People wanting to contract HIV so they could die from AIDS. People advertising how sickly they were. People looking to have someone amputate them. Even people wanting to be murdered. I closed the dark web, and I never went back. Edit. Apparently what I found is called bug chasers. I have no idea why somebody would want to do that. So, back around 2000, maybe 2001, way before Tor or even Silk Road, I think, I found a web ring selling weed. I was in high school, and weed connects were sketchy at best. Getting HQ stuff without seeds was rare. So I ordered 4 grams of Durbin Poison from Sweden. I'm in the US, by the way. Sent them the money order, and 3 weeks later, a little envelope showed up with a birthday card, and inside was 4 grams of flattened high-quality Durbin Poison. The FBI shut it down, eventually. Maybe not the kind of story that Redditors will find interesting, but I used to run one of the fastest relays on the network. At its peak, I was handling 0.5% of all Tor traffic. I was assigned the guard flag, which means my relay was one of the relays users would connect to first. I saw several very interesting IP addresses connect, including some North Korean IPs. I ventured in there once before and came across a site that was selling everything. When I mean everything, everything. Cocaine, weed, heroin, grenades, motherfucking RPG launchers. Like, how does someone successfully ship an RPG without any eyebrows being raised? Seriously, I just backed out. It seemed way too sketchy for me.
Thank you for watching. I always appreciate the support you show me, and I'm forever grateful for it. Hope everyone had a wonderful day. All my social media information is in the description box below. All the story, music, and image information is below as well. And don't forget,